So let's get one thing straight. We're not here to talk about a transformation as some kind of endpoint. No, we're here to understand it as a beginning, the thunderous start of a huge philosophical test. This is the story of an ongoing proof.
Just listen to this line. It's our real starting point. Notice the words, heard, trembling, caged. You can just feel the power dynamic, can't you? This isn't a conflict between equals. It's the voice of a totally new kind of being, confronting the very humanity that tried and failed to control it.
So you might be thinking, okay, big flash of lightning, the transformation happens. Game over, right? Wrong. The source material emphatically says no. That moment, that wasn't the finish line. That was the starting gun for the final, most crucial phase of this entire cosmic wager. And that brings us to our first big idea. A freedom so absolute, so total, that it's actually terrifying to anyone who witnesses it. We're talking about a complete and total break from every form of human control.
And look, this freedom wasn't given, it was taken. He didn't just sneak out the back door, he absolutely shattered the very cages they built to contain him, from the gamma-fueled cage of Project Zarathustra all the way to the labs of Project X. And we gotta understand, these weren't just prisons, they were humanity's attempt to define him, and he rejected that definition violently.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the contrast here. Humanity saw an asset, right? A tool. A captain for their petty wars. But the reality that burst forth was something else entirely. A sovereign, independent force that simply refused to be an instrument for anyone.
So why do they call him a monster? Well, the source connects it to this idea of a slave morality. Basically, think of it as the worldview of the powerless. When something comes along that's too strong, too independent, something that can't be controlled, this framework doesn't see it as free. No, it screams that it must be evil. Okay, so let's see how this builds. We've established his freedom from human control. Now, the focus shifts to what he is free to do, and that's to become a creator.
This is absolutely crucial to get. This being operates completely outside our normal categories. He's not a hero, he's not a villain, he's not even some gritty anti-hero. Those are all just roles inside a human moral framework that he finds pathetic and weak. His purpose isn't to play a part in our story, it's to surpass it completely.
And this is the very core of his purpose. He rejects any hope of a cosmic heaven or some otherworldly reward. Instead, he embodies what the text calls the meaning of the earth. And that means creating value, creating law right here in the real world, and doing it entirely on his own terms. And this just lays out his process perfectly. It's a systematic teardown of everything that's come before. He walks right through humanity's power structures, takes a good long look, finds them inadequate, and then just starts creating something new to take their place.
So what's the engine driving all this? The source gives it a name, the will to power. And this isn't just, a thirst for control. It's way deeper. It's the fundamental drive in all living things to grow, to overcome resistance, and to shape reality according to your own values. It's the very force that allowed him to seize the lightning in the first place. This brings us to the real nature of the conflict here. It's not about a physical brawl. It's a grand philosophical struggle, a kind of Faustian bargain, played out not for a single soul, but for the very definition of existence itself.
So yeah, forget about some simple punch-up. The real battle is a Faust of the mind. The text calls it a referendum on height, which is just a brilliant way of asking, can this new being maintain his superior, elevated state of existence, or is he going to fall back down to our level? And this slide just visualizes the two opposing forces in that referendum perfectly. On one side, you've got the overman, defined by his terrifying height and glorious isolation. And on the other, the seductive pole of what's called the last man, that sweet, sweet oblivion of comfort, of just giving up the struggle and sinking back into the suffocating delusion of the herd. And that brings us to right now. This story is so far from over. In fact, the most difficult part of the wager, the true proof of it all, has only just begun.
That transformation didn't end the trial. It kicked it off. His very existence is now the test. Every action, every single moment of his being is living evidence being submitted in this cosmic wager. The proof is ongoing.
And the source leaves us with this haunting, final challenge. Because it's one thing to seize power, but the true test, the question that's still hanging in the air, is whether that power can survive the long, cold silence of being truly, utterly alone.
which, of course, turns that philosophical lens right back around on us. If his every footfall is a verdict, the source seems to be asking, then what is the final judgment on the world he's leaving behind? What is the verdict on our existence?